Hi, and welcome to a special edition of Nerdiest Prime. Yes, I know we are a Star Trek channel, but this week we are doing Star Wars, change it up a little bit. And we're doing the 4th episode of ANDOR, and I'm joined once again by the Nerdiest Prime crew. Alan in Halifax.
Hello.
And Namir in Toronto, Ontario.
Hello.
And I'm Lucas, and I'm in Los Angeles, as you can see behind me. Let's talk about this week's episode of ANDOR. Episode
that doesn't
4.
look like Los. I wouldn't even know what that is. It could be like Helsinki or Amsterdam.
Don't you see the palm trees?
No.
Do you see palm trees? No.
No.
Not really. Oh, well, maybe down there.
Right here. Oh, right here. These are the palm trees right here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I was looking for like a hazy sky, like a brown coating.
Miami.
It's pretty hazy. But you're right. I mean, I could be lying. I could be anywhere, really. This looks like Helsinki. My background is mostly condos. So.
That's true. Yeah, and your background might not even be real. You could be in prison right now.
I could be a blue screen, a very well lit, consistent blue screen.
That's true.
Okay, let's talk about this week's episode. Let's start with our first impressions. Alan.
Oh boy. So I'll start off by saying this was well acted, well shot, well written, and it was pretty to look at. But my God, was I bored. So it was a whole lot of place setting, and we know how I feel about a lot of talk. So I started off really interested, and then as it just got to be more talking and more talking and more talking, I was getting more and more sleepy. But I got through it. And
but it's talking in space, isn't it more exciting?
Were they in space? They looked like they were just in Scotland and boardrooms.
Yeah, that's basically. Yeah, there's nothing actually happening in space.
But they're on different planets.
I like what they're talking about, though. I'm looking forward to this heist that they're talking about. But I feel like we're on our way to the fireworks factory, and we're stopping to watch Poochie the dog do stunts with Itchy and Scratchy, and we're not actually getting to where the fun is yet, and it might take a while. So anyway,
we're gonna move along because it was supposed to be succinct. Let's go to Namir.
Let me ask, did you understand that reference, Lucas?
No,
he probably did not. No, but the internet will, so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, fair enough. So I really liked it. I think it fit with the rest of the season so far. I think, I agree with everything that Alan said, but to me that equals a good episode as opposed to a bad episode. Like good writing, good directing, good acting, good special effects. That's like a good episode to me. So I'm really looking forward to it. This feels like it's setting up the next episode or the next couple of episodes, which are going to be like, hopefully like action filled and really energetic, and that's I think that's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that.
I enjoyed the episode. I think I enjoyed it the most out of all the episodes, but I think not because it's by itself the best episode, but looking at it as part of a larger story, this is really the first 3 episodes were kind of like the setup, and this is the kind of the beginning of the plot. If you look at the hero's journey or the 3-act structure, it was like the first 3 episodes were like the first half hour of the movie, and then the hero's call to adventure, and then now he's into the story, and so I was excited about that. But I also was a little bit like, there's not a lot going on. It was just, that was my only, it felt like the song and dance before the show as opposed to the show. And that's my only kind of complaint. But, in a few weeks from now or in a month from now, when the show's all done, if I went back and binged it, it'd be great.
Yeah, like it's not like an episode on its own. It's really like connective tissue or like a filler episode, right?
Yeah, it's like a switcheroo episode. It's like introducing him to the new storyline and the new characters. But I really like who we're being introduced to. I like that, and we'll go get more into it. But the bureaucracy and the infighting, and what I like about the show in general is it feels very, at least I really relate to it, and it feels very textured and layered, and it feels very familiar. Like, oh, this reminds me of elementary school. Did you guys feel that way when I was watching the Empire? I don't know who those guys were. It was kind of like the principal and all the teachers at like at a bad school, and everybody else was like the students were like, oh my god, the teacher.
Yeah, but I kind of like that. I like that they're talking about kind of like the background boring admin stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, I want to clarify. I don't mean to say that it was boring. What I mean to say is I found it very interesting in terms of the characters and the subtext. But what it reminded me was the kind of drama that you would see in a school.
Yeah, a little bit for sure. And Alan's like, "What are you guys talking about?"
I just want to jump in here because like everybody's gushing about how great these scenes of bureaucracy and red tape of the Empire, seeing how they work behind the scenes is, and this is the exact same kind of stuff that they were bitching about when Phantom Menace came out. I'm like, oh god, this is about trade negotiations and taxation and blockades, and disputes, and I'm like. And all the politics, because everybody wanted Star Wars. They wanted, battles in space and heroes and villains and the Force and Yoda and lightsabers. And then they talked about taxation. And it's like, and here this is basically the same thing. Again, it's written better, it's performed better, but it's still really dull. It's like watching City Council. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for with Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but that's also, I think it fits with the show, right? Because I think the idea is that, there's this ad hoc rebellion, and the opposite of that is like a Nazi like administration, right? And they sort of rule based on all these little processes and all these little rules that they have to follow and writing reports and all that stuff. So I kind of like that contrast, but I also I like it. I think it's funny, right? Like what I would love to see is a cross between like Star Wars and the administration of the Empire and The Office. Like just have like a couple of administrators, that are stormtroopers just trying to work through things. Maybe they're trying to figure out how to buy pencils for like 20 minutes, and they have to go through T21 reports. And
I feel like we're almost there. I feel like we're just like half a centimeter away from exactly that. It was almost funny. Like because there's all the bureaucratic stuff from this episode, but there was a bunch of it in the first 3 episodes as well, thematically.
Yeah, and I think the from a thematic and what's the point of this show? I think the point is kind of like fascism happens in bureaucracy, right? Like that's sort of like the method that fascism is able to operate.
What I always found funny about Star Wars too with the Empire is it seems like the most evil stuff happens to the people who are actually operating in that organization, because it seems like Darth Vader is always like force choking his underlings or whatever, anybody who disappointed him. I'm like, other than blowing up Alderaan, I really feel like the most evil things that the Empire does is inside itself, like they're just executing their foot soldiers, and like, oh, you disappointed me today. Like, oh,
Or Vader's like, I wanted bond paper, 20-weight bond paper.
yeah. And he's like, anything to set that guy off, and he just like. I was like, why does anybody want to work for these guys and be part of this? I'm like, just seems like every day you get up is a day that you might get executed for very, very small error.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think I really eat this stuff up because it's the two things that I really love about this show is one, the study, exactly what you were just talking about, Namir, the study of bureaucracy and how fascism is in bureaucracy and how that happens, how it's just a mundane thing that just one thing leads to the next, you know? When in the movies you're dealing on the high level like the empire or the emperor, and the emperor, you know, wants to take over, you know, and all the drama up there. But, you know, what's happening underneath all that actually allows that to happen? You know, what are all the machinations and the culture and all that sort of stuff? So I find that really fascinating, sort of the, you know, the human element. There are technically no humans in the show because they're all aliens from a galaxy far, far away. But it's really, I find even more so than Star Trek these days, it's hugely a reflection and you know, like a metaphor for today's society, you know, and I just find that really interesting. And there was something else, but I forgot.
But that's not new. Like, it's not new to this show. Like, I think that was there from like episode 4, right? Like, you know, meetings in the boardroom and, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's just like much more explored in this show.
Yes, I agree. That's what I'm saying. I like that element that we're seeing in this, because this show, and Alan, you were talking about this last week, that, you know, this show is about, there wasn't really rebellion in the Rebels, and this show is the first show that we really get that there's like we get to get into the nuts and bolts of the rebellion.
Yeah, can I say that I really like Stellan Skarsgård in this show? He's like amazing.
I agree. Like I love that scene at the start where he's like trying to convince him to Cassian to join up, and yeah, I really like everything about that scene. Just kind of like after that, I started to, but I was like, oh, that was a really strong start, and then I thought it was going to lead to something exciting.
Oh, maybe
we're not there yet.
You may have missed the only scene in the episode that actually happens in space, when he's on the ship and he's changing. He's putting on like his wig.
Oh yes,
and the rings and all that stuff. And then for a second he like acts like the guy. He's like, and then he's just like, oh. And then he goes back onto the bridge. That was so well done. He's so great.
Yeah, that was my favorite part too, when he put on the wig and he got into character. And for a second I was like,
going on with that. Yeah, and I was like, I see.
I wondered, is he really a shopkeeper who's a rebel, or is he a rebel pretending to be a shopkeeper?
He's a rebel pretending to be a shopkeeper.
Yeah, probably. But that shop had to be there for long enough to
Yeah, it seems like he was like well established and had a, I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Like
he had some stature in the community.
Oh. Well, but the character, like the shopkeeper is the character, right? So that's the act. So no matter which way it is, that's not the real him. The real him is the one that's on the ship talking to Andor and yelling at the leader of the team, who's probably his daughter in the show, which is my theory.
Oh, interesting. You always have such good theories. You always pick apart and find little things that I go way over my head.
But they're always wrong. They're never right. What are you doing? They just sound like they could be right.
You know, one thing that I really like about not just this show, but all the new Star Wars stuff, is how they take the original trilogy and mesh it together with the prequel trilogy seamlessly. Like most of the show reminds me of, of the shows from the 80s, the movies from the 80s. And then when you get to Coruscant, it's like, oh, this is totally the prequels. You're in the prequels world, but somehow it doesn't seem like a different movie because the prequels in the original trilogy, to me, couldn't be more different than night and day. Aside from the fact that they had the name Star Wars and they had John Williams, they were like completely different movies to me. And somehow they're able to rescue it by like putting those two things together and making them exist in the same universe.
Yeah, but it's really just visual. Like visually, everything kind of meshes. But episode 1, 2, and 3 visually does not match 4, 5, and 6. Like 1, 2, and 3 is very like popcorny and bright and colorful, and doesn't look real for the most part because it isn't. Like it's all shot on blue screens and green screens or whatever. Whereas 4, 5, and 6 feels real and gritty because a lot of that was done practically. So I think for me that's always been the difference. But this show doesn't have that problem, right? Because it's all sort of unified in the way they're doing it.
Yeah, and they really kind of redeemed the prequels because you get to Coruscant and you're kind of in that prequel world, but I don't feel that same kind of like ugh, from what I felt when I was watching the prequels.
That stomach churn. Yeah, well, that's why I like. That's one of the things. I mean, I know. We have some mixed feelings about the sequel trilogy, but I like that they went back, like when J.J. Abrams took over, that they went back to having some practical effects, and they had sets, and they were shooting, on location, and what didn't just all look like terrible green screen CGI.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
I appreciate that about it. Like it felt like we're on another planet again. It's not just people dancing around on a green set.
Although I would take the bad CGI if it had a good story, which it did not.
Yeah, it did not.
But I try to understand the visual effects for this show because with Mandalorian, they're like, oh yeah, we're not in any kind of environment. We're just inside of a big room with a screen that they connect to the camera, and it's kind of like this live
AR wall. Is that what they have?
I forget what it's called. I don't know what it's called.
It's called the volume.
It's called the what?
The volume.
The volume.
The volume.
It's actually filmed not too far from where I am in Manhattan Beach, which is strange for me to think like that the Mandalorian, none of it is like actually in the desert. It's just like in this warehouse, just
But it looks great. It does look great. Like if you got the technology.
Yeah, exactly. But I wonder this show to me, like I keep looking and going, okay, when are they shooting on the stage and when is it like an actual set? And because there has to be things that are actual things that they're picking up and touching, like chairs and walls and whatever. And there's other things that have to be like environments that are virtual. But I'm having a hard time seeing which one is which.
That means they're successful in their work. If you don't notice it, that means it's awesome.
Well, yes, but the question remains: which part? Which part? Like when they're in the hills, are they actually in Scotland or wherever that's supposed to be, or are they just?
I think so.
Or are they in Manhattan
I think
Beach?
so.
Like,
no, I mean some things are going to be tough to recreate, right? Like, when they're in the hills, I think that's on location. It's probably not Scotland. Like, I don't know where it is. It's probably LA.
No, I would think that definitely looks like it was like Scandinavia. Or
it's definitely not LA, but
maybe.
Iceland or something.
But I remember
where you go shoot stuff to look like it's aliens.
When in Obi-Wan, there was this one scene where I was like, oh, that's outside of LA. It was the when he was with little kid Leia, and they were on the planet, and they were in the back of the. I don't know. It was like a carriage, and they were going.
Oh yeah. That totally looked like the hills of some valley near LA. Yeah.
Well, that looks actually, that actually looks just like around the corner from where Vasquez Rocks is.
Yeah.
That's what that whole area looks like. It's like because it's half mountains and half desert. It's you basically LA is down like sea level, and then you take a highway and start going up through these mountains, and when you get to the top, you're in the desert. And then that sort of transition is where you get Vasquez Rocks and what that place looks like. It looks very dry. But this place
would be like any sort of wide environment that they're walking through, and it looks like they have a lot of freedom, is probably practical. Like they're probably on location. But
well, that's what I thought. But then if you look at Mandalorian, there's lots of desert scenes, which they could shoot here. But I know that a lot of those desert scenes weren't shot in the desert; they were shot in Manhattan Beach in the volume. The volume, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Oh, in that set, but that's different because you can just throw a bunch of sand on the ground, and then the rest of it you can.
You don't have to go to Tunisia anymore and shoot on location.
Yeah, but I can't see you doing that for that scene in the hills, right? Like you have to make like this Scottish Highland environment, have these giant rocks there. It just seems like it's not worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I just the point is it begs the question of like what is real and what I'm in the scene and what is not real.
But
like
you know
when
I think a lot of it is a mixture, right? Like I think, like for example, when they're in the shop, I think obviously some of that is real, but the background is probably not real, right? Like I think there's a lot of mixed kind of practical and background as part of the volume sort of things.
I'm gonna look this up. We're filming locations Andor. Because there was that really cool apartment building where I forget what his name is, but the kind of Weasley guy from the first 3 episodes, and he goes to see his mom. Yeah. And it's such a like throwaway scene, and she hits him and hugs him and all that stuff. I love that, but it was like I thought it would be great if that actually was the last scene that we ever see in it, man. Like that he's not continuing thread. It's just like I failed, mother, and that's it.
I have failed at life. I am back to live in your couch. Can you make me a peanut butter sandwich?
Where's your space basement?
Okay, so it's shot in the UK, most of it.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes
Black
sense.
Country Park, Corryton Refinery. I guess that was like probably the last episode. Winspit Quarry, Middle Peak Quarry, and Scotland. And you guys are right, it's Scotland.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Because I think those alien sheep are like Highland sheep, weren't they? Because they had the weird horns. But I think they gave them just an extra couple horns or something to make them alien. or maybe they really have like 6 or 8 horns. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure those are actual just like Highland sheep from Scotland.
They've just been irradiated.
Yeah. Like a target from Star Trek. Just put like a couple extra horns on it. It's an alien.
I love it.
Exactly. Okay, I have more things to say, but I want to give you guys a chance to chime in.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. You go for it.
Well, I really love the show. I'm really taken by it because it works on 2 good levels with me. One is a sort of hero's journey level, like I was talking about in terms of the structure of Andor being this anti-hero, but it's really like it's the hero's journey. He's being on the call to adventure, and you know, in Star Wars, it's always been about this Joseph Campbell like circle of life kind of thing going on, and I love that about Star Wars, and I don't know if you guys have watched those interviews with Joseph Campbell, but after I watched those, it's like I looked at every TV show differently, and this one really adheres to that, and I really like that. And the other part of it is kind of like what I was talking about a couple days ago, which is my own personal experience, which hearing the stories of the resistance in Latin America, and it's so rife with all this kind of stuff, you know. Like I don't know who was saying Che Guevara. I think it was Alan, but he's like really kind of this Che Guevara in the hills, you know. This is what's going on. And I've done a little research, and 2 things that came up where you guys probably know this, but when George Lucas did the original Star Wars, he based the rebels on the Viet Cong because he looked at the Vietnam War and he was like, well, these guys that are like basically, you know, are farmers or, you know, they just have like little rifles are taking on like a world superpower and winning. And that was the idea of like the rebels taking on the empire. and then after that conversation we had about Latin America and freedom fighters in Latin America, I did some research about movies, and one movie that came up was a movie called Latino that stars Robert Beltran in a very early role, and it's a Lucasfilm production, and it's which is super interesting because at the time it was super controversial. The Congress wanted to shut it down, and but it's like a thing that nobody knows this movie. The only reason I know it is because I Googled movies about Latin American dictatorships, and this came up, and I was like, wow, what's this movie? But yeah, that was pretty cool.
Wait, do you mean Howard the Duck?
No.
I was just checking.
Do you know what I tried to watch that movie? Because I was like, oh, it's like a legend. It's like it's a legend. It's supposed to be, so it's so bad it's good kind of thing. And I couldn't get through for the first 10 minutes. Have you guys watched that movie?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I feel like I've never watched it in its entirety. I've seen plenty of scenes from it, and it's like, oh my god, how did this get made?
Yeah. I watched it when it came out when I was a kid, and even then I was like, this is not good. This is a terrible movie.
Mm-hmm. It's your turn to talk now, gentlemen.
Me? What? Don't you have more stuff to say?
That's it. That was my whole thing.
Oh. Well, okay. I really like I like Mon Mothma. I think she's like that character and that actor are really great. And I thought I wouldn't like that storyline, but I'm almost more interested in what's happening on Coruscant than I am with what's happening with Andor. Like I'm really interested in that side of Star Wars, which we've never kind of really seen. We've definitely seen like the Andor storyline where it's rebels kind of fighting against all odds, and obviously they're gonna triumph at some point, but not the other side of the things, like how this stuff was going on in the political arena. And I know we saw then 1, 2, and 3 kind of, but it always felt like it wasn't actually like it always felt like super ham-fisted and not actually how things would have happened, right? But this feels a little bit more like, okay, yeah, this might actually happen in an actual political world.
Well, I find the show so scary. Like, it has such a foreboding kind of atmosphere, and you're right. Like, I feel every part of it. I feel like it could actually really happen. Like, how horrible it would be to live in that world.
We are in that world, aren't we?
Please elaborate. Please elaborate, Alan.
I don't want to get political with this thing. But
this show is political. That's the thing, is that you can't not talk about the show without being political, because the show is political, as opposed to something like Strange New World is not political at all. There's nothing really to talk about in terms of that, in terms of substance. Yeah. That's kind of like
Anson Mount and Pike's hair.
Yes, that's not political, is it?
Well, no, it's just even like in the States with the even the Roe versus Wade kind of debate and how they struck that down, and that kind of stuff happening, and how it's allowed to happen, and and voter suppression and that kind of thing that's happening in the States. Like, that's just kind of the early stepping stones to an empire, to an evil empire.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of see it in like Mothma and her husband, right? Because he's kind of like, I'm sure he's doesn't agree with everything, but he's kind of like, what are you gonna do? Let's we got to just move on with life and enjoy it while we can. And she's like, there's billions of people dying. He's like, yeah, I don't know, let's have dinner. You know what I mean? Like, and so
it's not affecting my lovely
yeah,
life. So
yeah, exactly. We're still gonna have our parties with all of our arms dealer friends, and and schmooze, and so I think that's really interesting, right? Because they're obviously coming from two very different viewpoints, and you can see her becoming like the leader of the rebellion, and who knows what happens what happens to him. So I like where this arc is going, and I've always wondered how she kind of got into that position, and there's been like hints, but they've never really explored that story. And the Stellan Skarsgård's character, whose name I don't even really know in the show. I don't even remember. Do you guys know his name in the show?
Lutheran?
Lutheran?
It's Luthen, I think. It's like
Luthen?
Luthen, Luthen, something like that.
Yeah.
I did read, because I'm trying to get people's names right, because I have no idea who anybody's name is. It's like all these new Rebel characters. I'm like, I have no idea who any. I forgot all your names already.
His name is Luthen Rael.
Luthen. Oh, it is Luthen. Okay. So Luthen, like, he doesn't appear anywhere else other than the show, right? So what happens to him? Where does he go?
He's gonna die.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's gonna get captured and tortured. Right. Good.
Okay.
What's gonna happen?
I don't know who my favorite character is, but I'm pretty sure that the principal, he's my favorite character right now.
Yeah, the leader of the whatever that is.
Yeah, he kind of looks like an orchestra conductor.
Yeah,
yeah. Your cello wasn't.
Your cello wasn't what?
I don't know. I hope they tone that stuff down myself. Anyway.
What? Not tell me. What are you saying now?
Oh no! I just hope that we're past a lot of this government bureaucracy. I know you guys seem really compelled by it, but I'm like, I just want to get to the heist. I was like, that's what I want in Star Wars. Like when I'm watching something, I was like, if it's not exciting and thrilling, I want there to be tension. And if there's not tension, then I want there to be levity. Like I just feel like this show is so dry. It's humorless.
I feel like there's so much tension.
I felt like there was a lot of tension.
I don't know. I just feel like
that was the most tense board meeting I've ever seen.
It felt like a lot of spinning wheels to me, but that was just me. I was like, come on, let's get on with it. I'm like, stop talking about red tape and stop talking about, because they spend a lot of time questioning, like, oh, who's this new guy in our rebellion group? I'm like, just accept that he's there and just move on with things. Like, why are we going to sit in the hillside and debate if this guy should be with us or not for like 20 minutes?
Well, there needs to. I mean, they're not going to just be like, hey, random guy that came out of the hills, join our super secret dangerous club here. But I understand I think I understand what's happening with the Empire scenes, like the bureaucracy scenes, because that new character that was introduced in this episode. So I don't think anybody knows in the Empire that there's a rebellion happening, right? Except for that new character. That new character is starting to kind of suspect that rebellion is brewing, and so my guess is her character is going to be the one that's trying to sound the alarm, but nobody's going to be listening to her, right? So like she's starting to connect the dots a little bit, but she's kind of stuck in this bureaucracy, which is interesting, right? Like the bureaucracy is actually working against them in this scenario. So I think that's what's going to happen, and I bet that she's going to. Okay, this is what I think is going to happen. She's going to start kind of like pursuing that star box thing, and then that's going to lead her to that corporate lieutenant, and then they're going to start like trying to figure things out together.
Oh, I love listening to Namir theories. It's like candy.
Yes, let's see if it happens.
It's like, yeah,
like a delicious meal.
Like a delicious meal.
Like a dessert. You feel full afterwards, but empty.
Nobody says that. Nobody says that. I don't know who says that.
I guess we know who says that.
Yeah, who could it possibly be?
Al and I used to work at a place called Power Post. And that whole board meeting reminds me of a place of Power Post. It was that same kind of like, not to compare Power Post to Nazis, but
go on.
But what's the say about us?
Okay. So you guys have probably both seen. I know Alan has, and probably Namir. But there was an episode of Star Trek the Space Nazi episode where they go to the Nazi planet. And the
Patterns of
conceit
Force.
of Patterns of Force. And there's the conceit of that episode is that the reason that this guy introduced Nazi culture to the planet is that it was the most efficient form of government, and he was just trying to organize the planet, basically. But that is, basically this idea that was kind of floated at some point years ago that, okay, the Nazis were bad and they're evil, but they were very efficient and, they were very good at whatever. But, since then, it's sort of, people have done research and it's come out that basically the Nazis, it was this idea of efficiency that they were trying to show, with the uniforms and all that kind of stuff. But it was all kind of surface. That underneath that layer, it was actually super disorganized. And of course it was, because there was no sort of intelligent critical thinking. Any critical thinking was immediately squashed. Everybody was fighting. It was kind of exactly like that board meeting. Nobody's going to go so just to bring back to the point of what you're talking about, Namir, about that woman she's thinking critically of, okay, these boxes are disappearing. There's a pattern here. There's a rebellion, and she's going to have to fight this bureaucracy, and which is like the undoing of the empire, because it's like everybody's kind of like in their little cubicle. Nobody wants to like step out of line because they're just going to get criticized. Like that's what that guy did that whole meeting, is every time somebody said anything, he just like put them down and put them down and put them down,
Yeah, and so that was Power Post?
Yeah.
Because nobody's getting force choked and executed on the spot yet.
Actually, that scene reminded me of that scene in The Untouchables when Robert De Niro is Al Capone. He's having that meeting with all the other bosses, and he walks around with that baseball bat, and just like, and you're like, oh, who's he gonna whack? He's gonna whack somebody, and somebody says the wrong thing. He's like, oh, boom, boom, and I was like, that might happen here. But I imagine that probably happened at Power Post.
Yeah, they would walk around the table and they'd be like, there's a guy out on the mount, and what is that time? It's time for individual achievement. But then he's part of a team. Teamwork. Alan's like,
teamwork. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think that's just
Alan's like,
corporate
what are
culture.
you talking about? I have never seen this movie. Alan, have you seen The Untouchables?
I have not seen that one, no.
Oh, come on. That's so good. It's a classic. You have to see that movie. Lucas just quoted the best part of that scene. It's so good. Although Lucas hasn't seen The Simpsons
I get what
either,
you're
so.
saying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I think that happens with all corporate boardroom culture. It's just a lot of yes men, and they don't like dissenting voices. So I think there's lots of examples of that in real life and cinema.
Yeah, and I don't want to get political, but
A lot of what we talked about.
I think it's really easy, like especially nowadays, to go like, wow, the MAGA, Trumpists and the Republicans and whatever, and yeah, sure, they're a bunch of assholes.
I don't like where this is going.
Right, but the problem isn't that. The problem is this, and that's what I think the original Star Wars was about. And what Darth Vader is about is Darth Vader is a guy who's sort of like, who's instead of being an individual, is just like adhere to a system so inflexibly that he's like basically like a, like a pickle. You know what I mean? He's a pickle in a suit. That's how. He's a pickle. Every time, come on, guys. Every time he's on that suit, what is he in? He's in a pickle jar, right?
I don't know about that. I think he's more like in a Kinder Egg. he's in a Kinder Egg, and when you open it up, you get the little Darth Vader prize.
His little house that he sleeps in.
No, well,
his little Kinder house.
Sphere.
When's the last time you guys watched Rogue One? That's what I want to know. In Rogue One, He's in a tube. Yeah, he's in a tube, right? He's in that tube, and he's like in a big pickle jar. When director Krennic goes to see him, and then he's in the pickle jar, and then the pickle jar lid comes up, and then he's like, Director Krennic, and he puts the suit on.
Yeah, maybe, but that's not what that people don't remember him for being in the pickle jar. People remember him for being in the meditation egg.
Yeah, the
Right,
little
but when he's in a suit, to me, he's like he's a pickle wrapped up in in leather, and that's.
Do you think of Darth Vader in some sort of S&M context? You're like, oh, I think of him like, what is that?
So the reason he's a pickle is that he just goes, I'm following the rules, I'm adhering to a system, and I'm not. There's no individuality in that.
I'm not on board with this pickle metaphor. I don't think it fits, but I think you've committed yourself to it and you're trying. You're really trying to make it work. But why is a pickle a metaphor for Nazism? Why do pickles follow orders? I don't get it.
The point of the pickle metaphor.
Can't forget the pickle now.
That's right. The pickle metaphor is, what is a pickle? A pickle is like a thing that basically was going to rot but got preserved in vinegar.
And then follows
so
orders blindly.
That's right.
Now the pickle is now the cucumber has become a fascist. Is that what you? Because
exactly.
now it's a pickle.
Oh, exactly. I see. So you're saying that Anakin used to be a cucumber.
Exactly.
And then he got into he lost the high ground to
You got to do a bit of a pickle. Is that what, like a bad situation? Is that what you're talking pickle? Like you got?
Oh, I get. Yeah, he got himself into a pickle, metaphorically, but he is also a pickle in real life.
Yeah. Where are we?
Wait, is this one of those language things where you actually don't understand what a pickle is? like a gecko? Is this the gecko Geico thing again?
I just want to say that
they used to call Nazi soldiers?
The word for pickle in French is way better than the word pickle. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Is it le pickle?
No. Alan is good at French. What do you know what the word for pickle is in French?
Well, I don't like pickles in general, so I never took time to learn it in French. I'm not a pickle fan or a cucumber fan, so don't really need to.
Oh, I remember this. Oh, I have to get off track here just to tell a cucumber story from Alan. So Alan hates cucumbers.
I do.
So I the second time I brought him to a sushi restaurant, he was very reluctant. He was as reluctant as the first time I brought him to a sushi restaurant. But he didn't have a choice because we were on a shoot and that's where we were going to all go. And he's like, I don't know about this place, and they're going to, feed me raw fish and God knows what else. And I'm like, no, Alan, it's going to be fine. It's fine. You just order stuff that you're comfortable eating. They're not going to try to give you something that you don't like. And we sit down, and the first thing they do is pour him cucumber water.
Oh, I hate cucumber water so much.
And everybody's like, cucumber water, so refreshing. And Alan's like...
I hate the taste of cucumber. I hate the smell of cucumber.
Oh, my God.
But I had to drink it because it's the only liquid that they serve.
It was the only water they had.
Yeah,
That was it. It just came out cucumber water from the tap.
No.
They did that to me at a spa once too when I went for a massage and they had cucumber water and I was like, what the hell's
Wait,
wrong with this?
Don't they put cucumbers on your eyes? Don't you have to deal with cucumbers at some point?
No, I didn't get any eye treatments.
What?
But
That's what a spa is for.
I don't like cucumbers.
Okay, let's get back on track. Star Wars.
He tries to detract from his bad pickle metaphor by making fun of my dislike of cucumbers.
Can't do that. The pickle metaphor just does not make any sense.
Yeah.
Well,
I think what you're trying to say is he's not a pickle. He's been pickled. Like he's gone through that process, but he's not really a pickle, right?
He's not really.
preserved.
He's not a human anymore because he's adhered. He's a metaphor. Whatever he is a metaphor for a person who adheres to the system, and that's what the whole empire is. It just adheres to the system too rigidly that it becomes inhuman, and that's what the whole metaphor of Star Wars is the individual, which is the rebels, versus the system.
Right, but I don't think he's necessarily an embodiment of the system in that way. I always felt like he was kind of a little bit outside the system, because all the rest of the the Imperial generals or whatever, they kind of make fun of him in episode 4. They're like, "You stick to your crazy religion, and we'll stick to our science." And then he's like, "Oh yeah," and then he kills a bunch of people. But he always seems like he's a little bit outside of all that.
You're right. Story-wise, he is outside of it, but I'm just talking metaphorically what he represents, and what Star Wars represents is what I'm saying.
Fair enough, but I don't think he represents what you think he represents, which is a pickle.
Okay. So, what I'm getting to is that this show, Andor, is taking that whole idea of the metaphor and taking it expanding on it, which is something I really like.
Yeah. You know what I think? I think that either in this season or the next season, they're gonna pull in Han Solo. I think we're gonna see Han Solo like we saw Luke and Mandalorian.
Oh, another Namir theory. It's just you're full of theories. I like this one.
I just find I find like he's already basically Han Solo.
He's not Han Solo. I don't.
Really?
I mean, I know you.
I feel like
said,
you could put Harrison Ford in this role and take Diego Luna out, and it would be like the same kind of character, same kind of internal conflicts.
Han Solo is more like a pirate. He's like a scoundrel.
I feel like
more. You know what?
Cassie's kind of a scoundrel thief.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Han Solo is more like
criminal.
No, because I'll tell you what I think the main difference between Cassian and Han Solo is. Han Solo, at least when we meet him at the beginning of Star Wars, is a guy who's like, don't bore me with your politics, So you could say he's like an Allen, right? But Cassian Andor is very much committed to like screw the Empire and screw these guys, and I want revenge and all that kind of stuff.
But it seems like he's doing that when in that conversation he had with Luthen at the start. Like he was kind of, I don't want to be part of your rebellion or whatever. And that's totally very Han Solo, where it's like, you princess, you can have your rebellion. I'm out of here.
I don't think that's the case. I think I don't necessarily agree with Lucas, because I think in the show he actually doesn't really care that much about the rebellion. He just wants to find his sister. No. And then he just wants to get out of there, right? Then he's just trying to
very
look for
selfish motive.
Yeah, he reminds me of. Did you guys see that movie with Adam Sandler, Uncut Gems? No. This is a good one. It's not like Happy Gilmore or something.
Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore.
No, I know the movie you're talking about, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, so basically,
I haven't seen that one either.
Throughout the entire movie, he's like running around trying to put all the pieces in place to make this big deal, and none of it ever goes his way, and he's always like, pulling it out at the last second, right? Like he's always like making it work at the last second, and that's kind of what Andor feels like, right? Like he's just running around trying to do the best that he can to make the deal that he wants to have happen. Right, so he's like always on the edge. So I don't think it has anything to do with him sticking it to the Empire, like not yet, right? Like even now, like this mission he's going on, he's doing it for the money. He's not doing it because he believes in it.
You know what I'm learning? I'm learning that I don't like it when you guys disagree with me.
Sorry.
But okay.
I see a lot of Han Solo parallels with him right now where he's at.
Yeah.
But so they are kind of similar, but they still to me seem like very distinct characters. Like they're not like Han Solo is like Captain Jack Sparrow, right? Like it's that kind of, that sort of feeling.
Yeah, you're right. But you're right. I'll tell you in the way that I agree that he's like Han Solo. Like in Rogue One, the way that they dressed him and like his props and all that kind of stuff, it was definitely like Han Solo inspired. That was the first thing I thought when I saw that character. And then and I think the main difference is if you look at the characterization of the character, is that you have Han Solo being like, man, how you guys doing? Poo-poo. Like he has this kind of more energy of like, everything's cool and I don't care about anything. And Diego Luna is very intense. He's always very intense. And that's the main difference, I think, between those two characters. Is Han Solo doesn't want to show that he cares, even though he cares.
Yeah. Whereas Diego Luna is
just doesn't care.
He's just like he could. It feels like he could, like he's on the edge, right? He could just snap at any second, and open the airlock and jump out into space.
Right. He looks like he could use a little meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Just calm down. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
He needs a little yoga, space yoga.
Yeah. Space yoga. Space Yoda.
Ooh. Yoda yoga.
Yoda yoga. Yoda yoga.
Anything else? What else you want to talk about?
I could just go on for another hour, but I think
I'm excited to see that thing that they talked about at the end of this episode, the I don't know, the eye, the celestial eye or something.
Yeah,
we'll look confused. Oh,
No, I know what you're talking about. I just thought, it's just gonna be a thing. There's gonna just be a thing, and
no, I think it's gonna be cool. I think the way that they described it sounds really interesting. I mean,
it's like a festival. It's like a festival. They're like, there's gonna be fireworks tomorrow. So I'm like, we'll see.
The best part of that
is already.
Yeah, it's the thing that they're gonna use to distract. Oh, they're gonna use it as cover, so that the TIE fighters can't get him.
Right.
But the best part of that scene, the best part of that scene was that incredibly highly detailed model that they were using to plan, and it was clearly that like the little nerdy guy that built it. So you can imagine him like sitting there for like days, just like putting everything in the exact right spot, the grass and
it was like the Doc Brown model in Back to the Future.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. 1.21 gigawatts.
It's like I haven't had time to paint it, or it's not really to scale, but but that guy totally had time to paint it because that whole thing was painted.
I don't even know. I think he probably like planted and then grew the grass that was on the model.
I thought it was a great episode, but I think this whole show is kind of like, it's kind of too bad that they're kind of releasing it like once a week, and I think that's really more a financial thing. Disney Plus wants subscribers and they want to hold on to them for 3 months and all this kind of bullshit, but I think this show would be a show that would be better off it was like they just dropped the whole thing in one day.
I agree. Yeah, because it doesn't, every episode, this episode especially, doesn't feel like an episode of something, right? Mm-hmm. It feels like the middle third of an episode,
mm-hmm.
Which
it's really the first third of an episode.
Yes,
yeah,
they're setting the table.
Yeah,
we're waiting for that meal.
lot of cucumbers.
Oh god! I hope it's not a meal of cucumbers.
It's. Did you actually eat any sushi?
You talking to Alan?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think you've ever had sushi, have you?
I had what was it, like a katsu don? It was like an egg, rice, and like breaded chicken thing. And that is not
sushi.
That's not sushi at all.
I know, but they had it on the menu, and it sounded like something I eat, and I did, and it was good. But
That
no, I
was
have
the
not
first.
actually had
That was
sushi.
that was the first time we went to sushi. That's I remember him like going through the menu.
Yeah,
He was
so
like,
what
chicken.
do I
I'll
eat
take
here?
the chicken. I'll take chicken.
Chicken and rice and egg. I eat all three of these things. I've never had them together
burger.
though, so that was new.
You know, it's funny. Like I've met a ton of people from the East Coast that just do not like sushi and won't eat it.
But isn't it ironic that they're Atlantic Canadians, but they don't eat fish?
We do
Yeah,
eat fish. We just deep fry it or pan fry it.
You know, I remember the entire time that I lived in Halifax, I never had lobster there once.
Well, because lobster sucks. That's why.
I like lobster, but I don't gush about it like a lot of people do. But
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
you know,
fine.
Let's
I was
wrap
gonna
this
say, I
up.
feel like we're digressing. People are gonna watch this like, what am I watching? This is not about Star Wars.
Okay,
Literally talking about
so
his diet.
do we want to do a rating on this, or we're gonna hold off on the ratings?
Well,
I-
again,
you
I
know,
don't think I can rate this because it's
I don't-
place
yeah.
setting. There is no complete
Okay.
story here.
Any final thoughts?
I hope it gets more exciting.
I think it will.
Let's
I think
talk.
next episode.
Let's talk more action.
Next episode is going to be super exciting when
Yeah,
Andor gets to fly the box. He's going to fly a box.
I'm having a great time, and I think I'm not going to go so far as to say I think this might be the best Star Wars series to date, because Mandalorian is pretty fantastic. But if they both ended up being as good, then I would still prefer this one because it has more substance in terms of like getting a little. I mean, and just to get back to, I think the main difference between and Namir, you can speak for yourself, but between Alan and me is that I love politics. So when a bunch of people are around a boardroom table, I don't get bored. I'm like, ooh, politics. But I don't think Alan.
In my sci-fi adventures, I like weird stuff happening and exciting battles and high concept science fiction ideas and
Yeah. And
politics
Lucas is
does
like,
not
ooh, a
excite me.
boardroom talk about provisional funding.
It's like, ooh, yay!
Yay, it's exciting. Will the budgets match up? Who knows?
God, it's so dull.
But you know, I just realized something, and I'm actually not sure if this is true, but it feels like it is. I don't think that there's been an alien in this episode. I think it's all been humans.
And I missed that too. That's what I noticed too. I'm like, these are a lot of like boring human characters with no sense of humor. I was like, there's no goofy alien, no comic relief.
Yeah,
There's
but
no C-3PO
even like aliens in the background. There was one alien at the start where Andor goes into the brothel, but even she was just like painted blue, right? Like, well, maybe not. Actually, I think she was a human. I don't think there's been an actual like alien in this show yet.
Maybe because they've all been enslaved, and that's like we're gonna discover that later. You basically you want to see an alien with 3 tongues like in the Orville. I get it.
No. But it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. The whole point of that universe or that galaxy is that it's aliens and humans are all living in the same environment, right? They're all living in the same world or galaxy.
Echuta.
What?
Bantapudo.
We need Jabba and Greedo.
No, but even when Luke goes into the cantina, it's like full of aliens. Right?
Like this. Tuta, Mishka, Jabba the Hutt.
No, I really feel like you're not taking this point seriously.
I know, they even some of them guys with the testicle chin, too. The one that wanted to...
I don't know
the guy in the cantina. Where he says, he doesn't like you. The other guy.
Oh, yeah.
He has like,
he
has a ball sack on his chin.
Yeah, you're right.
No,
Yeah,
he's a spider. He's a spider. He's not a
Was he a
ball sack.
spider? I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
he
what
was
he's
a spider.
And then he came up he was in Rogue One, remember? Too.
I
Yeah, I do remember.
think I look like so what is this thing in his chin? I thought it was like a nutsack or something. Was it like tusks or like?
No, they're tusks or mandibles. Is that what they're called?
I didn't see them move, so I just thought it was like a sack.
Well, it's 1970s. There was going to be no movement in 1970s. It was just like a Halloween mask they put on.
But yeah, I missed more. I missed the aliens.
Namir, I'm taking you very seriously. I'm missing the aliens too. I just wanted. I'm trying to speak. I'm speaking alien. I was doing all the aliens. That's what I was doing.
I don't think either one of you noticed until I mentioned it. Is my theory.
No, I did notice this. It was like a very human concentrated Star Wars story.
You're right.
There's no droids. There's no droids.
No. There's that little R2 unit.
That's not an alien. Yeah. That's a. Oh yeah. I guess there's like
usually there's a little smart ass droid character in every Star Wars, and we don't really have a whole lot of that in this either.
We didn't really talk about that one, but I really liked that droid character. I liked everything about it.
Yeah, it was
like Wally.
neurotic.
Yeah, it was like Wally, and I like the way it moved too, like the way its head kind of moved around the top part of the cylinder. It was cool.
It was a cool droid.
Yeah. Anyway, I want an alien. I want at least one alien.
Yeah, where's Neen Num? He's part of the rebellion.
Neen Num? Who's that?
You mean Num Num?
I thought it was Neen Num. The guy with Lando in Return of the Jedi.
I don't know.
I thought his name was Neen Num. But yeah, where's that guy?
Talking alien is fun. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. Talking Lando's fun too.
Yeah,
they told me I fixed it.
Yeah, I think Lando's the best part of Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So no ratings. Final thoughts. That were final thoughts. Okay. So my dog is hungry now. So she came by. This is my alien in my life.
What does she eat? Pickles?
She's like a Chewbacca. Okay, so we'll be back next week to do episode 5 of Andor. And thank you once again to the Nerdiest Prime crew, Alan in Halifax, Namir in Toronto, and myself in some random location. Who knows?
Okay. Hoping we get to that fireworks factory next week. That Lucas still doesn't get the reference though.